Hey, what's up? You're listening to Music Posting. I'm Alex.
And I'm Astrid, and today we're reviewing Glass Beach's new album, Plastic Death. It's their
Yeah.
second album. It was released, it's our first review that we're doing, like, on time. It was
Yeah,
released on
yeah.
January 19th, so, yeah, I mean, we're in. We're in on the action.
Yeah, we've given it a week. This time, we're really diving in with something fresh for you guys. Apologies in advance if I sound really gross and gnarly. I'm a little sick, and by a little I mean I'm a lot of sick.
Yeah. Yeah, Alex I feel like you've been sick for, like, multiple weeks now at this point. At least a
Yeah,
week.
yeah, it's been at least a week, and then I'm pretty sure I got sick earlier too, so just not my luck, unfortunately. But
You're experiencing a different kind of death.
I am. I'm not experiencing a plastic death. I'm experiencing a cellular death.
Oh,
But
no.
but speaking of plastic death, do you want to dive into this? Like bite our teeth into it?
Well, yeah, I mean, I wanted to give sort of my thoughts coming into this. I had
Mhm.
never listened to Glass Beach before. Have you listened to Glass Beach? I know their album, the first Glass Beach album, as it's literally called. I wasn't just referring to it as the first. That's the actual name of the album. I never actually listened to that. That came out like few years ago, and a lot of people like it. Like before this album even came out, I would honestly say that this was one of our most requested like bands to listen to. Like I saw this
Yeah.
all over Reddit and in our comments.
Yeah.
People really wanted us to listen to Glass. So we did this for you.
Yeah, we absolutely did. I did listen to the first Glass Beach album, but I listened to it many moons ago. It's been
Interesting.
it's been years. Yeah, Glass Beach, they are an indie emo outfit comprised of a few members, one of them being the lead singer, Jay, who
J,
who
lowercase j.
lowercase J, who who I really felt was channeling their inner Tom York voice on this
Yeah,
album.
no, 100%.
Yeah,
I
it
felt
wasn't
that
just
the whole
me.
time. No,
Not
yeah,
just
it
me.
was
Okay.
every song sounded like Radiohead to me. And I know that's like probably a really annoying comparison because, like obviously Radiohead, a really big band. Like I know I
Yeah.
get annoyed when I'm like, I make a song and somebody goes like, "This sounds like Death Grips." I'm like, "You've never listened to any music before."
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but I mean, that's what it reminded it. That's how people relate to things.
Yeah.
They relate to what they've already listened to, and so
Yeah, for sure.
for us,
And
it was Tom Yorkian.
yeah, I mean, so Glass Beach, they made huge waves in the emo scene when they released the first Glass Beach album. I feel like it was a very critically acclaimed album. It was very beloved and cherished. And it spawned like a very dedicated and passionate fan base online. Um, and I feel like some of that onlineness is reflected in some of what's going on here with Plastic Death, as well as some of the ethos surrounding Glass Beach.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I would just say in general, I'm really excited to hear what you have to say about this album, Alex, because I think it's like a 1 hour album. This thing runs for over an hour, which
It was a monster, yeah.
yeah, and I mean, look, if you know anything about me, as I've talked about, I listen to a lot of really fast music. I like, noise and like breakcore. And, I'm just an impatient ADHD hyper, core person. And so, like, listening to this is like a big feat. I had to, I'm describing this as if it's like Herculean or I was suffering. I wasn't. I was having a good time. But I took multiple sessions, to really get through this because I wanted to take my time with it and
Yeah,
digest it.
yeah,
But it was very long. So I think a lot of people are going to have a lot to say about this. I'm excited to see what Alex says about this. And if we miss something, I think we're inevitably going to miss a lot because it's just so long and there's a lot to digest. So we're really
yeah,
interested in hearing what our community has to say about
yeah.
the album. And so I'm going to be reading these freaking comments when we release this. That's for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. This album is such a huge project in scale, I feel like. I was really excited to hear what you had to say as well. I had a feeling that you would like it, and
Mm.
we'll see if that's true, but this, project had, like, a whole ARG around it released
Yeah, I didn't know
that
about this at all. And so you told me this right before we started recording.
yeah, and, a lot of people got involved in that ARG online. Me personally, I did not know there was an ARG until I listened to this, and by then it was a bit too late just because of timing stuff. So, if anyone
ARGs are
wants to
so cool, dude.
yeah, if anyone wants to share about the ARG or if you participated, I have a feeling a couple you might have, feel free to let us know, in our comments on YouTube or Spotify. Um, yeah,
Dude, I'm gonna do an
classic death?
ARG. I'm gonna freaking. I'm gonna. You know what I'm gonna do?
What?
I'm gonna make an album and I'm gonna burn it to CD, and then I'm gonna hide it like in another country, and that'll be the only way anyone can ever find it. Someone has to find it. That's the only way. I'm gonna do that.
Yeah,
Is that crazy?
it's like the One Piece, but
Yeah.
for a CD.
I titled the album "The One Piece."
The one CD.
The one CD.
Yeah.
Oh man,
If I did an album ARG, what I would do is, I would hack into
the mainframe.
the mainframe, yeah, and I would drop little, like, snippets of lyrics in the code. So like, you would have to assemble all the letters in a perfect way, and then once you did that, it would also give you a password that you could use to,
Oh
unlock
wow,
the music on, like, a website that is
deep
on
web.
Google. No, I don't wanna send people to the deep web, just on
Okay,
Google.
the
Yeah.
shallow web.
The shallow web, the tip of the iceberg web.
And speaking of levels of water, let's get into this like semi-water themed
That was a good
album.
one.
Huh?
Yeah.
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 Song one, Coelacanth. Is that how you say it?
Coelacanth, yeah, that's,
Coelacanth, which cool ass word.
it is really cool. Do you know anything about coelacanths?
Well, from what I know, a coelacanth is a ancient fish that has existed for a really long time. So to me, it just like represents a fish that is like a product of an older time, or like that's how it's perceived. And scientists, they say it's critically endangered. And I was reading that there are some species that they think that are only like less than 500 left in the wild. So that's kind of an
Damn.
interesting theme as the name of the song, and I think it kind of relates to like maybe what the song is sort of about because
Yeah.
yeah, okay, so I'll get into my thoughts on it, I guess. When this song was starting up, I was not feeling it. I'm just being honest. There's like a Markiplier reference right
Yeah,
away.
the Unus Annus reference,
The
yeah, for those who aren't as terminally online as us, Unus Annus was a YouTube channel started by a very popular YouTuber named Markiplier, who the goal of the channel was that they were going to make videos for 1 year and then delete the channel,
yeah.
and by that they would like highlight the temporality of life, and it became this whole philosophical thing.
Yeah, so when that started off, I'll just admit I was like, okay, this is gonna be a corny ass album. But that was probably the peak of the corny iceberg because I don't think the album is very corny. But I was just like, Markiplier reference. Okay, what's happening here? But
Yeah.
as the song built up, I sort of started to see the point of that reference in general because I
Hmm.
think what it was trying to convey is that you know art that is kind of temporary isn't really any good or more special than art that isn't because someone backs it
Mm,
up anyway. But
yeah.
what I think it's trying to say is that all art is eventually forgotten anyway, or at least most of it, and it becomes this sort of like rare ancient past thing like a coelacanth that maybe like a lot of it, like this podcast we're doing now, maybe in hundreds of
Yeah.
years, it's like not something people can even find. And you're looking through a junkyard and you find it. I don't know why it would be on CD, but let's say you find it on a CD. It's like seeing a coelacanth.
Yeah, or maybe it reemerges like thousands of years later.
Mm.
Because I think, do you have more you wanted to say, by the way?
No, that's sort of my interpretation. So I'm excited to see what you have to say.
Yeah, so, apparently the coelacanth scientists, like, thought it had gone extinct, like, way before. It was actually a rediscovery,
Yeah.
um, which is so interesting. So, I feel like I totally agree with what you're saying, which is that sometimes art is very temporary, The lyrics reference a mayfly,
Mm.
um, which is, a bug that
Very short
lives.
lifespan.
Yeah, I think it just lives for, like, a day or 2. Um so, you could have art that is a mayfly, you could have art that is a coelacanth, and I feel like just like you can have a YouTube channel like Unus Annus that is a mayfly. Or they also reference Banksy, which is an
Yeah,
art
they do.
yeah, who's an artist who does, like, graffiti, and it just pops up out of nowhere, and I feel like that almost highlights this sense of rediscovery. It's like, oh, it feels like it's been there before because the graffiti just has this aura of looking so lived in,
Mm.
but, like a coelacanth, it can just pop up out of nowhere,
It also
which
sort of reminds me of the like cycle of plastic in the ocean. Like, you know,
Mhm.
you throw something away and it doesn't really fully get processed in any sort of plant and it gets thrown into the ocean and a turtle bites it and it goes through some currents and eventually 50 years later, some 1950s Coca-Cola bottle cap ends up on the beach in 2024, you know? It's like plays
Yeah.
into the plastic death theme. It's just the cycling, the recycling of
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, and the recycling of a lot of things, like, I mean, remember the, tsunami that happened in Japan? There are still things that wash up on shores from years ago that just disappeared and suddenly reappeared, and
Yeah.
I feel like they're also talking about, like, feelings that disappear and reappear,
Mm.
social movements that disappear and reappear,
Yeah.
the cycle of art, which is also referenced again later on the whale song that we can get into later.
True. Ooh.
Um, yeah, I feel like there's a lot of interesting stuff going on here that sets the stage for some of the themes discussed later, and I mean, I really like the instrumental. It starts with this really cool, like, dissonant piano with, like, these beeps
Yeah.
and boops that are, like, shimmering and
And you can
chiming away.
the vocals are almost like ASMR in the beginning because it's so stripped back. Because the song has this
Mhm.
really nice progression. Like I was saying, I wasn't feeling it at first, but as it built up, I sort of respected it because it starts off like you said, it's just kind of beep boops in the back, and you can hear like the clicks and like the
Yeah.
lips moving and smacking. Like it's like
Yeah.
ASMR. Like all you hear is just vocals right up in your face. I sort of
Yeah.
respect the confidence there, and then as the song builds up, it just becomes this giant symphony, and it's a good ass time. There's even like a I think my favorite part of the song is like this video game ass like guitar solo at the end. That shit was
Mhm.
pretty fun. So yeah, it's a cool opener.
I love how it builds up. They incorporate a lot of math rock influence on this project, which
Mm.
math rock and emo, they kind of go hand in hand. I feel like if you're a fan of emo, you're a fan of math rock, or you're at least aware of the 2.
I'm gonna hit you
Um,
with it. I'm a fan of math rock, but I'm not super into emo.
Interesting. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
but
fair. I
it's
respect
not that
it.
I don't like emo. It's just there's like very few. Like I need to hear good emo. Basically, people need to recommend me good emo.
We can definitely get into that. I
Yeah.
can there's some good emo I can recommend. Tiger's Jaw, that's a good place to start.
Ooh.
I would recommend starting with Tiger's Jaw. But yeah, no, there's like these really cool offbeat layered guitars and like offbeat drums that just hit you with the snare every once in a while. I think it's a cool instrumental for
Yeah,
sure.
I like that. I feel like, and I'll get into this a lot as we're talking about the songs, but I feel like there's so much diversity with how these musicians can play that
Mhm.
makes me very excited to listen to it. I think that's one of the things that helped get me through the 1 hour runtime as a super impatient ADHD freak is that you know the songs are allowed to go in different places, and sometimes it's just randomly a screamo song or a post hardcore song, and like that's kind of fun for me. And I think those were honestly some of my favorite moments musically
Mhm.
when the song sort of shifts into and blends into another genre and does something different for a bit and then goes back. And that has sort of math rock staples as well, right? Math rock is all about constantly innovating within the song itself and just being very random and hitting different threads very quickly. Um, and so I respect that a lot about this album in general.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. The instrumentals on this album are doing anything but going through the motions. And
Oh, no way!
Yep, and speaking of motions, do you wanna get into track 2?
Song 2, Motions. It
Motions.
into Motions, I was enjoying, the groove of this song right away, like,
Mhm.
a lot more. It, like, felt like anime to me or something, not to get, too weeb. But,
No, it did feel like an anime opening, and I think
it
that's
does, yeah.
thanks to, in part, the math rock. I feel like
Yeah,
math rock has also, like,
kinda anime.
infiltrated the anime sphere for a while, yeah.
Yeah, I wrote this in my notes, but There's one song later especially, but these songs just sound like anime openings to me, like a lot of them. At least the more like kind of catchy ones are.
Mm,
I could just see them just put over Naruto or any other shonen, and it would just work.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, the pre-chorus is so catchy on this. Like "Hell is other people," which is like also like a cool line in general. And there are like some goofy, sillier lines that kind of like the Markiplier line from last song. Like there's a reference to like CAPTCHA games.
Yeah, like
Um,
the, select all images containing traffic lights.
yeah, I thought that was cute. I've done that in my own
Yeah.
music. Like it's fun to just throw in like random kind of terminally online stuff here and there. I think it's cool if you have it as references every once in a while, as long as it's not too in your face. If a song is like, "I'm Mario from Nintendo and I'm hitting the CAPTCHA," and okay, shut up. But like, select all images containing traffic lights is tasteful, so I like that a lot.
It kind of feeds into the whole theory I have about this band being very online.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
know anything about the members, but like, are they online? Like, they must be
yeah,
pretty online.
I think they are. We can get into it, especially in some of the later songs, but like for example, Jay, the lead singer, chose very interesting places to do some Q and A's with the listeners. We can get
Interesting.
into
Okay,
that.
I'm actually really excited to hear your perspective on this because I didn't really pick up on the online stuff very much. So that's actually exciting to hear about.
Well, so I feel like this song is very much like about being someone who is online in a capitalist world. It's very clearly like an anti-capitalist song.
Interesting.
Um, like at least to me, it sounds that way. Like with some of the lyrics are like going through the motions. I want to be the new routine, and I want to kill the competition, and I want to run like a machine. To me, it seems like very much people being pit against each other, and it ties in with that lyric you brought up earlier with the people are hell.
Yeah.
You really sometimes can only think that in a society where you are taught that other people are your competition,
Yeah.
or you're like a shut in with like severe social anxiety, I guess.
Yeah,
But
I also noticed that theme about this as well. Um, I feel like this song is like 100% about that sort of capitalistic competition and
mhm,
like commodity of just like basic human exchange, which like everyone has to participate in. But because of how our system is, like even just simple relationships or conversations can feel very transactional, and I think especially for
yeah,
neurotic people that can make it feel like you can't fit in. I think my favorite line in general on this was the one that says, about the chitin jacket, like feeling like a bug, like wearing
mm,
a chitin jacket. I feel like
yeah.
that's very interesting.
That's a very you lyric as well. I feel like
Yeah, yeah. That
that's something you
honestly,
would write.
there were some lyrics in this where I was like, "What the fuck?" Like this is like very me. I definitely
Yeah.
related a lot to this album lyrically.
Yeah, well, there I think you and the lead singer, Jay, would relate on a lot of things.
Yeah, I think
Um,
so, based on
yeah,
some of the themes.
yeah, well, and also happen to channel a lot of Tom York here, which I'm sure they're
Yeah.
gonna hate getting this
They're gonna
comparison,
hate
but
getting that. I also wrote that down in my notes.
yeah.
I get Radiohead vibes from the vocals. As stupid it is to say, but it's like it's this thing that Radiohead does too, or that Glass Speech is doing, where the lyrics, like lyrically and vocally,
Mhm.
this is a very despondent song. Like it's neurotic, but the instrumental is like almost like a stadium anthem sound. It almost sounds pretty positive. I think that like dynamic to me is always interesting. That's probably what's interesting to me about Radiohead or other bands that do that. Having maybe a more positive sounding instrumental, but the vocals are like
Yeah,
so defeating.
yeah.
That's a cool dynamic in music.
I think so too. I think so too. Do you wanna talk about "Slip Under the Door"?
Yeah, let's slide and slip under the door real quick.
Okay.
What did you what did you think about slip under the door?
I was very surprised by, the, screaming. And then there was
Dude,
like a a
so
very
good.
yeah, it was really cool. Previously on the songs, they didn't really like go to these lengths, but this was just straight up screamo in the first minute.
I think the first minute of this song, and I touch on this, I'm probably gonna say this like 4 times, but like I wish the whole album sounded like that. Like, and that's what makes me so. inspired by this Glass Beach album is they're so talented as musicians. They could just hit all these different genres and hit it and execute it pretty well. That I'm like, fuck, like maybe these guys will do like an album that just sounds like that one day. Like that'll be really cool. I don't know, but yeah, like the fucking it's just loud right away. It's just
Yeah,
loud, boom, 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 and screaming, and yeah, it was it was cool.
I think I think the sky's the limit with these guys. I think lyrically also there's a lot of stuff about I think just maybe feeling a bit despondent in a very like unsure, uncertain world and kind of like living through through a lens of being an online person.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean?
No, I totally get you. This song like reminded me a lot of neuroticism lyrically. It also reminded me of this movie, Beau is Afraid. Have you seen Beau is Afraid?
I wanted to see it, but I never got around to checking it out.
It's just it's about this like really neurotic dude who's just like scared of everything. Like the movie starts out him in his apartment and he needs to like go to the airport. And
Mm,
he's like, "Okay, I got to go like get this thing." But he looks outside and it's like everyone's like fighting each other and there's gunshots, you know. And then he like
yeah.
runs and it's like it was like if every anxiety you had in your head would just happen. You know, like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
basically what
yeah.
the movie was. And so it got me thinking about that movie for some reason this song cuz lyrically it is you know, very, very neurotic, and it reminded me of that sort of cycle of anxiety that you can feel. At least that's how I feel sometimes, like not trusting anyone or anything. But there's
Yeah.
also a lot of lyrics about war and the concept of a body being like a property for war, or maybe property for an entity, you know, a boss or whatever else, and
Yeah.
and the body being this strict concept that, by a lot of people's standards, isn't malleable. And I think the message is more so to say that we can be ourselves, and it's our bodies, and we're not just property for the US military or whatever else. We're not just black and white figures defined by a piece of paper that says male or female. And I think that's like
Yeah.
a common theme in a lot of these songs. And I think this is the first song to kind of touch on that. I might be reading too much into it, but that's a theme that I got a lot on this album.
Yeah, I don't think you're reading too much into it. I think, I definitely agree. You know, to quote Japanese Breakfast, "The body is a blade." In a different context, you know, it's
Mm,
you use your body to, like, wade through, just the shit of daily life and,
yeah.
you know, everything that comes at you. Yeah, in the world that Glass Beach is describing, it seems like the body has become really beat down and, like, just exhausted
Hmm.
from being property, from
Societal expectations.
from the expectations or just from the sheer grind of like a capital world, which feels a lot. I could honestly, I do understand the Radiohead comparisons
Yeah.
because that's kind of a lot of what Radiohead was touching on with OK Computer was, you know, just adjusting
Techno
to,
dystopia.
yeah, like modern life. And that's kind of the same vibe I get with this, especially with you know, maybe the lyric goes, "Maybe I'm for real," and it's, in quotes, and it's 4 with the number 4 and then real. It just seems like a very, like, online techno dystopian way to describe that particular feeling.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of messages, as well as you know, not letting your body be defined again by your birth paper, by what you know you were defined as birth. You know, if correct me if I'm wrong, but you know, I think the lead singer is definitely queer, and like you know, I feel like that's like definitely a theme on this for sure. You know, not having your body defined, you know, and letting and being, I think breaking free from that and having autonomy over yourself, you know?
Yeah, totally. I think it's absolutely important to mention the non-binary perspective that Jay writes their lyrics through,
Yeah.
because that does happen to inform a lot, so
Fuck yeah.
you wanna move on to, Guitar Song?
Let's get strumming, huh?
Okay. You make one smooth segue.
I think I can do them all.
Yeah. This was actually probably one of my favorites on the album. Um,
Yeah.
instrumentally, it has like it's a very nice reprieve. It's like a
This is a you
very
song for sure. This is Alex anthem.
yeah, it's, a very, like, acoustic, layered guitar that is strumming these well, plucking these beautiful chords, and then Jay comes in with like a very soft way of singing.
Mm.
And I love I love the technique they're using where they will have like this chorus layer of sound, and then it just like cuts to silence
Yeah,
before the guitars come in for another
dynamic.
round. It's very cool. Um, I have some interest. I had some thoughts about like lyrics, what's going on.
Mhm.
Um, I think so I had to look into some of the lyrics because they write very like esoteric lyrics
Yeah.
that can be kind of difficult to understand.
This one was like reading an old poem.
It was like reading an old poem, yeah. So like for example, the chorus, on Doric legs, tail to head, or the Ouroboros won't flow. Only love drunk isotope, your burning hearth, your self-appointed silhouette. Very poetic, but I had to look up what Doric is. Um
I did as well.
yeah, so if I'm not mistaken, does Doric mean it's like relating to like ancient architecture?
Yeah, it's one of the Doric order is one of the three orders of ancient Greek and Roman architecture, which I stole from Google. That's not from the synapses of my brain, but that's what it meant. Can I actually? Well, you keep going, but I want to speak up more on Doric order because I think I read a lot into that. I guess.
Yeah, no, feel free. I will just offer my interpretation of this
Yeah.
song. I feel like this song, it has a sweet cycle and it relates to the coelacanth and also to the mayfly.
Ooh,
In that, love, like the Ouroboros, the snake dragon eating itself, it goes in a cycle, but that love can also be for the greater good, the love for society, the love you have like for your fellow citizens, for your loved ones, for your friends. Um,
interesting.
and that love is ancient. It's built on like these ancient legs. Um, I don't know specifically how it relates to like Doric legs, but um, I do think it is like that coelacanth. Maybe it's there and then it disappears, but hopefully we find it. So I'm choosing to think there's like a hopeful message in this song somewhere, and it's not like the mayfly that just extinguishes in a couple days.
Well, I actually think I see maybe a little more optimistic side of it. But I so actually kind of was also had to Google Doric because no way either of us knew what Doric meant.
Mm-mm.
I'm glad that you admitted to looking that up too. One of us could have
Yeah.
pretended like we knew what the word Doric meant. It would have sounded really smart. No,
Oh,
but I looked up.
actually, I just looked it up to make you feel better. I don't.
Yeah, I actually knew. I use Doric all the time.
Oh yeah, I
um,
actually am Doric.
I am Doric. Astrid Doric. Last name Doric. Okay, so yeah.
Doric is my middle name.
Doric is one of the three orders of ancient Greek and Roman architecture, which you don't
Mhm.
have to understand anything about. But there's stuff about fitting into an Ouroboros or a silhouette and confining to a Doric order, confining to this ancient architecture, being very strict with your form. And I kind of think that is, again, talking from the POV of some sort of gender dysphoria. Like, as a trans or
Mm.
binary person myself, like I can feel very dysphoric. And, because there's a mismatch, a perceived mismatch from what you're scared of what people are thinking about you, or perceived mismatch from your body to how your structure is laid out with and how one identifies. And so I think it's kind of touching on that. But I thought it was really interesting what you said about people working together, because I really noticed that in verse 2, when
Mhm.
which I think might honestly maybe be just like my favorite stanza of the whole song, because like I was saying, it is very like poetic. Like
Yeah.
28 birds go along for a walk, 26 birds tug the wheat from the stalk, 24 birds on a. I mean, it's kind of Dr. Seussian, but it's like
Yeah.
it's poetic. And I sort of interpret those lines also like birds working together, birds doing different things and people fitting into certain slots and cogs and doing things for each other and being part of a system and feeling maybe even confined to certain systems, confined to a Doric order of sense, like a rigor or a
Mm.
system. And similar to gender, I think people aren't, and in work as well, people aren't defined to those very arbitrary systems. And so the hopeful message I take is that people are more complicated and complex by just their Doric structure or their job as a bird in the field. They're more complex and unique and interesting than that. And I think that this album is about taking control of that autonomy. At least that's the optimism that I like to take from this album.
I love that perspective. I think that's a great perspective, and I think a really valuable one too. I had not considered that, and I think that's really interesting. I think
Yeah, I
that's a
mean,
great take.
well, I'm obviously coming at it from my perspective, right? So there's going to be some bias, and I really have no idea what these songs are about. At the end of the day, they could be about
Yeah.
anything. It's
Yeah.
up to Jay or whoever wrote them. So, but that's just my interpretation. And I like when music gets you to think like that and make your own
Yeah.
interpretations
Yeah.
and make something personal for you because this is about our personal journey. So,
Absolutely. Everyone's personal journey is so rare, which brings me to
medium rare, rare
no,
meat, rare animal.
Rare Animal. This is track 5 on the album. Um, I think, like, this one has a bit more of a straightforward interpretation. It opens with these birds chirping, which I wonder if are a reference to the birds from the previous song.
Oh, that's cute. I didn't even notice that.
It has a very, like, math rock, chord progression with pretty soft instrumentation, I would say.
Yeah.
But then sometimes there will just be, like, these offbeat, like, chords being played. It's a very sweet instrumental, but I think this song is about unrequited love,
Yeah.
and, I think also they write about it in a way where it's, like, kind of meta. So, for example, the verse, "Guess I maybe misunderstood, I mean, I guess I maybe had misspoke. We're living in 2 different dialects, we're speaking 2 different zip codes." I feel like that is pretty meta because it's, like, bringing attention to the misunderstanding that is coming about
Mm.
from being in these different areas. Um, there's this cool lyric about, thinking about if he keeps playing DB Cooper through her life,
Yeah.
which is, basically this person who is being referenced is 'cause, DB Cooper just, like, vanished out of thin air, right?
Well, yeah, he was a mysterious figure that just sort of like hijacked a plane, and to my knowledge was never caught. It remains to be like the only case of air piracy that was never figured out. So go DB Cooper, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, the reason this song makes me think it's about unrequited love is because of, like, some of these lyrics, thinking about you, he's just sleepwalking on weary feet, your headache, you're absentee, in a daydream, tectonic is all you do, thinking about you. It's basically about this person who is, like, pining over someone who is not really giving them the thought.
Yeah.
Um, and at the end, "Honey, tomorrow was all smoke and mirrors."
Yeah, I think that this song is definitely about unrequited love, and it's sort of abstract to what kind of love. I mean, it could be friendship, it could be even just a person you're interested in from a far distance. Because I kind of get more of a vibe that there's a distance to it. Like the POV is almost like
Mm,
looking up to an idol or like some sort of Sasquatchian figure, right? That you just don't
yeah,
understand. Like a
yeah.
peculiar, interesting person. I think at the end of the day, that's what it's definitely about. And it's that sort of loss of maybe that something that was so rare and special to you? Like, I think, like, the lyrics about DB Cooper kinda play into that too in kind of a funny way, like, just
Yeah, well
it's this mysterious person that you just sort of wonder about, like, how did they get away with it? And, like, how
yeah,
did this even it's a very interesting story, and so I think it's sort of about that intrigue of the mystery and rareness of maybe someone that you're interested in.
yeah. I feel like DB Cooper almost has, like, this mythical status online.
Yeah.
Um, I definitely hear what you're saying. I agree. Maybe that is like a nod to, like, oh, this person has mythical status in the person who is in love's mind.
Yeah. Man, the shit you could get away with before cameras and technology.
It's nuts, right?
Hijacking a plane, can you imagine if you tried to do that today, you would get stuck at step 1, I think just getting through the door. It
I
would
mean,
scan you.
really, yeah. I mean, now it feels impossible, but back in
Oh,
those days.
those good old days where you could hijack a plane.
Yeah.
Ah, man.
Those good old days where you could hijack a car from the cul-de-sac.
There's this
Speaking
one
of
oh,
oh, go
sorry,
ahead.
wait,
No,
have
no,
you
no,
heard of
yeah,
the
yeah.
one guy that, like, stole an airplane in, like, New York and then, like, parked it, like, on traffic? Have you seen the picture of that?
No, no, I haven't.
Oh my god, what is, like,
That's wild.
New York plane, I don't know, I'm not gonna search New York plane, but you know what I mean. This guy, like
Yeah.
there's this really funny vintage picture of a guy that landed a plane, like, in an intersection, and the people are just around it like cops, just like, "What the heck?" I
That
don't
is
know.
absolutely wild. Holy moly. Yeah, you can't get away with that these days.
And, as he was circling the plane down onto
Uh,
the ground, it
like
was
how one
almost like a
circles a cul-de-sac?
cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cul-de-sac, song 6.
What did you
Um,
think about this one?
I think actually this is one of my favorite songs on the entire album. I,
Mm,
think lyrically, I really liked it. I like the play between circling a cul-de-sac and using that as a metaphor to describe, sort of Ouroboros of culture, like, feeding
mm.
ourselves back into a loop of, like, techno-dystopian life, but also using that as, like, a narrative to
Yeah.
critique modern suburbia in general.
Yeah, I think, it is interesting, right? It's almost like these, songs kind of feed off of each other, referencing the circular nature of an Ouroboros, or
Mm,
even some of the lyrics, "All your love went away, all the mayflies died in a day." Um, to me, this song feels like it's about this fleeting kind of love that leaves you with nostalgia, not necessarily even for a person, but also for, yeah, like housing developments in the 50s that, built out the suburbs, or, um, some people have, nostalgia for the two-car garage, which is referenced, or
mm,
some people have, nostalgia for the silver screens. Like, there's this lyric, "Silver screens for a dream that we aimlessly reenact." Like, the silver screen feels particularly nostalgic.
yeah,
And then it's, like, contrasted really interestingly in this other verse. "The new age cut their hair, found eternity in crypto mines.
yeah,
The new age cut their hair, sincerity is anodyne. Um, the desert of the real was overcast by its map. I know it's not gonna last." To me, this feels like, someone who is experiencing nostalgia for the past,
mhm,
shaking their head or whatever at these youngsters who are now, like, taking over.
interesting.
Do you know what I mean?
Can I talk about my interpretation of that?
Yeah.
I think, I think that it's sort of a nostalgia for, a dream, a suburban dream. Like, I think, like,
Oh,
longing for, like, silver screens, or, trying to escape maybe a lower echelon to be, get a media job, be a media brain, be a podcaster.
yeah.
Lines about finding money in crypto mines. Everyone's still
Mhm.
chasing that dream. Like, you have, NFT guys, like, AI guys, like, just, they wanna be the person that wins that crypto mine, millionaire, gets, like, Apple stock day 1,
Yeah,
but
it's like
they're
a
never
it's a
gonna.
pipe dream.
Yeah, it's a pipe dream, and
Yeah.
you're very lucky to be in a moment like that, and no amount of, like, NFTs or, like, hours and hours of, crypto tweeting is gonna get you there. Um, and I think it's about sort of looking for that jackpot, like, looping around the cul-de-sac and never leaving that cul-de-sac of thought. Like,
Yeah.
staying in that cul-de-sac and searching for that nostalgia, like, searching for a win,
Well,
and,
cul-de-sac or sorry, go ahead.
no, 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 go, go.
Well, cul-de-sacs are also, like, kind of a trap in themselves, right? Like,
Yeah.
literally, if you go into a cul-de-sac, you can't get out unless you, do a little twirly whirl.
Mm.
And that's, kind of the impression I get from the instrumental in some ways. It feels
Interesting.
very circular. Like, it definitely has progression, but to me, it feels, like, kinda circular.
Yeah, and I think this song is about that trap of that circular process, and really what you should be focusing is on, providing a productive community, being like a productive self, and, being a good self and having fun and whatever, but, the lyrics, like, towards the end of the song, like, say, like, "Your autumn will pass," or, like, "Your moonlight will wane and wax," and,
Mm,
I just feel like these, like, moments of, like, desperately searching for, like, that win or, like, that slam dunk is not really worth it, because we're all just back into that cycle at the end of the day of plastic death, you know what I mean? We're
yeah.
whales at the bottom of the ocean.
Well, before we move on to whales at the bottom of the ocean, I will say, yeah, if you want true change, I think what this song is trying to say is, if you want true change, societal change, personal change, you cannot be stuck in the trap of nostalgia, no matter how sweet, it seems. It's like
Mm.
it's a honey trapper, you know what the term is. I don't know.
Dip your toes in the cul-de-sac. Drive
Dip
by every once in a while, but maybe not stay there
yeah.
for too long.
Yeah, maybe dip your toes in the ocean where there happens to be a whale at
maybe
the
tip
bottom of the
maybe
floor.
tip them far, far down where the whales fall. Song 7, Whale Fall.
What did
This
you think?
oh, I think this is my favorite song of the album actually.
Mm.
I think this song is about a cash whale, a whale that sits on large swaths of money and doesn't do anything productive for
Uh,
anyone with it other than themselves. And I think there's references to, oil here
mhm.
and whatnot. So I think it's sort of a double entendre for sure. But it's like
Ooh.
a whale, a hedonistic, you know, man with more money than he needs,
Yeah,
and an ugly, yeah,
or sorry, or a crypto whale, you
a
know?
crypto whale, yeah,
Like,
and he just
a whale meaning, for those who aren't familiar with the term, someone who is hoarding a lot of a particular thing.
yeah, and these giant oil executives are doing exactly that. They're hoarding the water, they're hoarding money, and I sort of just got that picture. I just got a picture of just this ugly mass of meat, just some disgusting giant capitalist pig just eating and feasting on the whales, like feeding on the body of the whale, and but also feeding off of the profit from this giant oil system. Feeding monetarily off of the dead whales, and
Yeah.
yeah, this is just a song about the destruction of the ocean and water.
Yeah. I really like the, plucky guitars. I think it's got this cool, I can't tell if it's a xylophone or a marimba,
Mm.
but this, it's definitely one of those in the background, and it's got this really cool, like, beat that makes you wanna shake your shoulders a little bit.
I thought you were gonna say shake something else.
No, no. It sounds very, like, aquatic or like a day at the beach instrumentally, but,
Yeah,
like
no, I
but
definitely get that.
yeah, but a little dark. Um, I totally hear you with the feeding on the whales and the capitalist whales. I that was my interpretation as well. I did a bit of digging into this one because I was so intrigued by the instrumental,
Yeah,
and the band, they did a interview for Our Culture, and they
our
talked about
culture.
and they talked about how this song is also about the development of music.
Interesting.
We're getting meta with it. So they say, this is their quote: "Every single new development in art is just like the worms feeding off of a whale's corpse on the bones of what came before."
That is true.
So I think there's an interesting parallel being made here between giant oil conglomerates and like little offshoot companies feeding on that and learning like, oh, look at what this big company can do. I can do that.
Yep,
But there's also some beauty in something small feeding off of something big
that's the cycle.
that is no longer needed. That's the Ouroboros. That's the cycle.
Yeah.
That's the unus annus. um, and like music is derivative. Like, what's the I can't remember who said this, but the saying goes, like, good artists take in for inspiration, great artists steal, or something, because inherently art is derivative of the art that came before it.
Absolutely.
We're all just learning and we're all progressing together, and everyone is pushing the boundaries from the previous generation that came before. So I think there is a bit of beauty in like the sight of like a bunch of little fish eating a giant whale that is no longer needed anymore, you know?
Yeah, it's good to see that sort of optimism as well. Like despite all of this negative, there's a lot to dwell on. At the end of the day, it's feeding back into the cycle and feeding into that plastic death.
Yeah. I really like this song, also one of my favorites on the album.
Yeah, it's up there for me, if not my favorite. I think just lyrically, musically,
Yeah.
vocally, concept wise, it's all very succinct, and I think it does everything well.
Yeah, and I think the vocals are so good on this song. Very soft, sung very softly, but with like this strange lament.
Mm.
It's a great vocal performance, I think. I definitely get puppy eyes thinking about
Woof,
it.
woof, woof, woof. Do you hear that? Do you hear that? What? Woof, woof.
Is that a puppy?
That's
Is that
song 8 Puppy.
is that track 8 on Plastic Death, Puppy by Glass
Wow,
Beach?
is that dog a Glass Beach reference? You're
So
at your friend's house.
is that
Is that song 8 Puppy from Plastic Death by Glass Beach? No, that's my dog.
that's yeah, is your dog does your dog come from Glass Beach? So, I have some very interesting lore about this one for you.
Okay.
You know how I
I
was
dude, this song to me is before you get into it because I have not
Mhm.
much to say.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know what this song is about. Like, I need you on this one.
Okay. Okay, so I had some interpretations about this song. Like, on the surface, I think it's about, like, an abusive relationship or toxic relationship.
Okay.
Um, okay, so do you remember how I said earlier that Jay and this band, they feel very online. They have, like, a very,
Unis honest.
that yeah. So and I said they, have some very interesting avenues for, like, talking about their projects, right?
Yeah.
So one of those interesting avenues is Discord. They were talking to
This
people
song talks about Discord?
no, no, no. This song isn't about Discord, but they were talking about what this song is on Discord. For those
Oh,
who don't
I
know,
see.
Discord is it's basically like gamer Skype or like programmer Skype is how do you describe Discord to someone who's not online?
Yeah, I would think anyone listening to this knows what Discord is, but it's basically just a way to talk to people online. You
Yeah.
just you can voice, you can call them, you can text them, you can do it all in one app.
Yeah. And you can have these like giant servers filled with people that sometimes don't even know each other.
Yeah.
Um, so on Discord, Jay said, and I quote, "Puppy is our most blatantly furry song. Enjoy."
Enjoy. I
Yeah,
love that. Oh my. Okay.
yeah.
Well, I like the song a little more now.
So yeah, I think this is, I think this song is about taking ownership of someone else, in the way that you take ownership of a puppy, right?
I
You
thought you were
have
gonna say a fursuit. I was gonna lose it.
I didn't like go too deep into the whole furry
Yeah,
interpretation,
yeah, yeah. I was just like, I
but
was waiting for you to like give some. Anyway, keep going.
yeah, no, I feel like it's ultimately about like a very wishy-washy, shallow no, it's about a very wishy-washy relationship where there's someone being strung back and forth like on a leash, you might imagine. One person loves someone like a dog, like a puppy, right?
Chainsaw Man,
Unconditional love, yeah. And the other person is treating them like a puppy. So it's really about
Makima.
like, having ownership over someone in that way.
Yeah, I sort of saw that this song was about sort of a wishy-washy relationship as well, or like about like trust issues.
Mhm.
Just like not being able to sort of fully connect with someone in some way. I think my favorite line was, "But these days I fear the love in everything." I don't know why. That's like towards the end of the song. I don't know why, but that lyric is like very, uh, very crushing.
It's
You
a
know?
it's a punch in the gut, and I think it's a
Yeah,
very I mean, you can imagine, like, an animal that has been mistreated in the shelter, they're so hesitant to approach new friendly people who wanna take them home because they have been so mistreated.
yeah.
That's
I
kind of
sort of relate a little bit to that. It rung loud for me.
yeah, um and I think the instrumental also really reflects that uncertain nature. It has these short, sharp, like, guitar stabs filled with a lot of silence, and it feels like you don't know where the instrumental is gonna go until
Ooh,
it crescendos into this like, it just keeps building, and I'm very impressed by how they were able to build the track up and, turn it into something very progressive, you know?
hell yeah. Would you say Puppy is one of your favorites?
Surprisingly, no, but
Yeah,
I
me
did like
neither,
it a
but
lot.
I was wondering it would be funny if you liked that one. I feel like you're very puppy core, dog core.
I love a good puppy. You know
Not
what?
saying you're a furry.
No, I just love a good puppy. I love a good puppy. I keep, I keep bookmarks of Instagram posts of cute dogs and cats, and I monitor them like the CIA.
No, that's the killer. We're actually going into the killer. You fucked it up.
Oh, yeah, my bad. You're right. You're right.
That's kind of the coolest segue ever, though. You skip over and then go back. It's a good bit. We did that on purpose.
Yeah, I definitely I don't there's no segue. I do not want to make a segue between the killer and puppy. Um, do you have any thoughts about the killer?
Yeah, the killer. The verses are like really addicting to me here, like
Mm,
vocally. They have like just a good rhythm to them. I don't know what it is about it because I'm not that sort of musical where I understand why that sounds so good. But the vocals just sound really nice over the loud acoustic guitar. It felt very familiar in some way.
yeah,
Um,
it's like a very nostalgic acoustic guitar with, a very, like, 2000s soft rock
yeah,
drum and instrumental set.
yeah, and I sort of interpret this one lyrically as sort of an anti-war song or maybe an anti-gun song or
Mm,
just the kind of the concept of this this hunter a metaphorical killer and sort of getting into the headspace there.
mhm.
I think the lyrics about nesting dolls are sort of sad in that context because you have sort of I think maybe it's about America in particular, being a giant war conglomerate, but even down to like the micro level, just killers and copycats of those killers, which is kind of like repeating nesting dolls. I don't know. I think it sort of paints like a sad picture of America in my eyes, but maybe that's because I'm American, and so I see it from that lens, right?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of the sadness that, is in these lyrics is, like, further, um, brought out by the strings that come in. I
Yeah,
love those strings. I think they sound really good, especially on that acoustic guitar. Um, it's a very beautiful string section.
yeah, and yeah. Musically, this one is really nice. Like I just love the instrumental a lot. Um, Lyrically, I think this song is just like very very vague on
Yeah.
purpose, and you kind of take what you want to take from it. But I really liked like the strong imagery of like a trail of blood crimson and warm
Ooh,
splattered across the ragged brush. And I think
yeah.
like it's just like a very detailed imagery. Um, yeah,
I I think that perspective on, like, being anti-gun and, America kind of falling from grace, I thought that was a really interesting interpretation. Um, but do you think what do you think the gentle jaws are if it relates to America in your perspective?
I think that the gentle jaws is just, in my opinion, like trying to get into the mindset of someone that is lost to the concept of becoming a
Mm,
killer. Like I think a lot of a killer is a person who has been like defeated or beaten in some way by society from which stimuli, and just isn't given a fair shot in some way or whatever, and is sort of becomes a killer. So I think it's I don't know. To me, it's just kind of like getting into the mindset of what that is and how sad that is from all perspectives, and just that I don't know. It's just sad.
yeah, it is sad, right? Like, you don't have killers in a healthy society.
Yeah,
Like, having killers, I think, is a symptom of a very unhealthy society. In a
yeah,
society where everyone is looking out for each other, you don't have people that want to kill their neighbors or even get to the point of even contemplating, like, to think, I could kill my neighbors."
mm,
I interpreted this song a bit differently from you. I thought that this was a continuation of the relationship being described in Puppy.
interesting.
Yeah, so I have a bit more interesting lore for you.
Okay, why is it? Is this another? Is this, dude? At this rate, it's gonna be like, and the band members did an interview on Reddit on r/band interviews, or
No.
it's gonna. They met up on AOL chat room to do
I
this. What
well,
is it?
no well, no, so you were totally right, by the way. They actually did do an interview also on Our Culture, and they
What?
said it is the anxieties of suburban America given human form. That's their
What?
quote. Yeah, so
Wow.
you were spot on pretty much.
I'm actually hitting it.
You're actually hitting the nail on the head. My interesting piece of lore is that presumably from the same conversation where it was mentioned that Puppy was a furry song,
Oh no.
Jay says, "The killer too, kinda, but that's harder to explain." And I don't know if they're joking, but I can see it kind of, like
Mm.
in chorus too. And tore through skin and bone where iron teeth take hold, and underneath as nesting dolls, the tender flesh to carry home. It's like a very visceral, gory depiction.
I see it now,
Um,
Alex.
I feel
No.
like
I
it's
see it.
it's someone embodying an animal. Do you know what I mean?
But the bad kind of animal. So Puppy is putting on the fursuit. The killer is putting on Five Nights at Freddy's suit.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. Um, yeah, so the way I interpreted this song, I saw it as someone who is seeking dominance, um, and, has been pushing puppies away, and
Mm.
now, like a predator, they're on the hunt for more puppies, and
Yeah.
I think actually the last verse, the outro, as you decide through killer eyes taken by your trembling trigger hand in gentle jaws, the barrel of your 22. I think it's being sung from the perspective of the puppy who
Yeah.
is watching as this killer is about to, I guess, finish them.
You know what I really like about this?
What?
This is really random. Maybe I'm reading too far into it, but I just saw it now. In verse
Mhm.
2, when they say, "Oh, little fox," it's
Mhm.
interesting to use the word fox there instead of like wolf.
Mm.
Like, if it was like, like I feel like a movie will often look at a killer like a wolf. Like
Yeah.
this really strong, like, there's something mystical about this, but a killer is really a cowardly fox at the end of the
Right,
day.
yeah, that's a really interesting point. I think a killer can also be like a timid house cat.
Yeah.
Like like a killer can really be anything if you really start stripping down the parts.
Yeah, but I think the fox is almost an insult to the killer.
Mm.
Like, you're not a wolf. You're a cowardly fox, and you just got caught in a trap.
I like that perspective. Yeah, I
I don't
didn't
know.
see that. That was a good catch.
I mean, that's probably reading way too much into it, but that's what I see.
Well, I was mentioning earlier how I see pictures
Ooh,
of
think of
cute
a random three-word acronym.
CIA.
Whoa!
Whoa, crazy.
Song 10, the CIA.
Yeah, what did you think of CIA? The CIA.
This is the one that I was talking about earlier, is specifically anime opening to me. If someone wants to make this
Mhm.
edit, they can. But put this song over the Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 You're So Special opening, and I'm pretty sure it would work. I could just imagine the characters walking in slow motion to this
I
song
could
playing.
see it, yeah. It's
Try it
it's,
out.
I could see it, yeah, thanks to in part to its, like, very math rocky progression again. It's got these very, like, math rocky drums. It
Mm,
has this really cool, like, synth that plays these broken chords too,
mm,
that's like, "Da-na-na," like, I think it's so cool. It gives me, like, this it invokes the feeling of, like, an old spy movie or something.
mm. Yeah,
What
lyrically, I,
Mhm,
interpret because so for me, like, just in general, because I guess I feel like I haven't talked about an album from a perspective of lyrically this much, which is
mhm.
like so far in our podcast. Like I feel like I've been
Yeah,
talking more
you've
about
been
the
really,
sound,
really chewing into the lyrics on this
but
one.
on this one, like I'm all in on the lyrics. I think that's what I liked the most about the album in general.
Mhm,
It's like obviously stuff I could relate to too. So it was fun for me to just chew into the lyrics. And
mhm.
musically, it was too complex for me to even understand. Like it was impressive. I mean, they're talented, but for me, I sort of see this as like a love song, but like the love between two figures that don't really interact with each other, but using the
Oh,
CIA and the CIA subject as like a cutesy metaphor. Like to me,
interesting.
it's like a cheeky. It could be like a cheeky song about like the CIA agent that watches your every move. I don't
Yeah.
know, but the music video is pretty funny. Did you watch the music video?
I did not watch the music video. How's that?
Well, it's just this kind of panopticon as they speak about in the lyrics, this big jail cell complex, and there's just like little aliens running through, and it's very cute. They're like playing in random sections of the prison.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, I think that they're playing around with CIA in sort of like a cutesy way, in my opinion.
yeah.
But maybe
Did
the music video really has like a hold on me there.
did you ever look into the concept of a panopticon?
Yeah, well, I haven't looked super deep on it, so maybe you know more. But Panopticon is just this prison design, right? Where it's this like I think it's like just a giant tower, and all the prison cells are like faced towards the same point, like at the middle or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
It's like
you're
just this
spot on.
It's like this horrible, just disgustingly inhumane prison. I mean,
Yeah.
whatever prison system, and yeah.
Yeah. No, you're spot on. It was talked about by Foucault, who's a French philosopher.
Hmm.
He wrote a book about like discipline and punishment. I forget what it's called. Maybe it is called Discipline and
Yeah, probably
Punishment.
discipline and punishment.
Yeah. Um, so I read that book. He described the panopticon is to make people feel like they can never truly just have a moment of privacy. It's like no matter where you are, you're being looked at by people across your cell, by prison guards who are in the
Hmm.
middle. There's just really no escape, which I feel like parallels the CIA. And
Yeah.
I feel like this song is a metaphor for like a controlling partner who is just like
Mm.
monitoring your every move. Um, I agree. It's totally tongue in cheek. I hear what you're saying there. I think like so for example, there's this verse, can't help but fall into your arms, blink at every false alarm. There is nothing I can do to separate myself from you. Yeah, you're my panopticon. I think
Dang.
it's like when people give each other pet names like honey or sweetie.
Yeah.
Imagine like giving someone the pet name of panopticon. It's told in this way, and no really
Yeah.
I feel like this is following the progression of the couple from puppy, and I feel like the puppy is like trying to use humor as a mask to like unveil some like disturbing truths, like, oh, I love you too, panopticon, or something like that, because the puppy really has no power in this relationship.
Yeah, I didn't even see that perspective at all. It's a really interesting perspective. This is why I like this podcast so much. It's just seeing like difference in our perspective on what things might mean. It's so interesting.
Yeah, I love your interpretation. I think it's really cool. I love hearing what you have to say.
Dang. Yeah, man. I feel like I liked the reference to whales again. There's a random line about I don't even know how to say it, like ambergris or something, but I looked it up. It's like I don't even remember whale guts or something. Um, and that's kind of cool. There's like a lot of references to whales. I think there's like a lot of references in general between songs. Like they kind of reference different songs from the album in different songs. I think that's kind of
Yeah.
fun. Like keeping sort of some general, just common themes that are just kind of randomly thrown out.
Yeah,
Um,
it makes the project seem more cohesive as a whole, I think.
yeah, and I like when the song picks up towards the end, gets really
Mhm.
harsh and loud. As always, I enjoy the harsh and loud sections. So I feel like this is the second time that it really hit that volume, and I like when they did that. So again,
Yeah,
maybe they'll make an album as harsh as that one day.
yeah, I love it. It feels like a spy song, but like very, very aggressive. Like there's the whole like dun, dun, which
It
feels like
is, yeah. That makes Giant James some James Bond shit.
yeah, it's like it feels like when you're playing like Metal Gear Solid and Snake gets discovered and there's like an exclamation point. That's what it feels like. And then it's
I
broken
so
up.
see that. I so see
Yeah.
that.
It's like broken up by these like really intense drum solos. Like I just think it's really cool. I love the instrumental.
Man, fuck yeah.
I wish I had a segue for this next one.
I 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, I'm just kidding. 200 song 11.
Yeah,
I was gonna count to 200. Can you imagine?
that'd be pretty funny. I'd leave it all in.
I'm not gonna do it. Song 11. So what's 189 plus 11?
200.
200.
Yeah.
Yeah, this song sort of touches on a lot of similar themes. Uh, in previous songs, back to sort of like body autonomy, in my opinion. Like I see
Mm.
lyrics like "So move your body like it's automatic," or "Baby, I feel sold for entertainment." And it's, just to me
Mm.
more lyrics about being this lack of autonomy, our bodies as weapons, our bodies as personified like automatic rifles, we're disposable, like to the churn of the machine, I guess. That's how I kind of feel. Also, the line, an insatiable auto cannibal, just
That's
ignoring
cool.
any
That's
meaning. That's
hard.
just a cool line. That's a cool ass line.
That's a line that you would write also, I think.
Yeah, actually, these last few songs, I was again being like, "What the fuck?" I kind of write like that.
Yeah. Um, I I'm really, I see your interpretation. Mine was similar, but for different reasons. In terms of like the body control, I still have a hunch this is following like the couple that is being described like in this last leg of the album.
Interesting.
Um, I looked into the nav lights. In the same interview, the Our Culture one.
Okay, I thought you were gonna
Um,
say the Discord one.
yeah, imagine if this is another furry song. A furry song about boats. So they were saying that here's their quote. It's kind of a long one, so bear with me.
Go for it.
In World War II, the Pacific Theater, when the US was fighting Japan, they would stop by all these smaller Pacific islands, and when they would stay there, they would give a lot of the local people gifts of food and technology, stuff that would immediately improve their lives significantly, and then they left and never came back. Meanwhile, these people came to really treasure a lot of the technology and the food and all the stuff that were gifted by the army, so they started to develop these religious rituals around military imagery and military practice. They would march
Mm.
the same way that they do, and they would make prop guns and stuff. Basically, they saw it as some kind of divine intervention, and they were praying to this god of the US military in hopes of receiving further gifts.
The idolization of war,
The idolization of war,
becoming a war machine.
becoming a war machine. And so I kind of took it as like when you're in this like cycle of abuse with
Mm.
someone or this toxic cycle, it's like there's like there's this thing that happens, and then so there's like an incident, like something happens, and then the perpetrator will shower the victim with gifts or something, or they will try to suddenly be very sweet and tender and like make it up to them,
Mm.
and then they will just like completely not do anything, or the cycle will repeat itself. They'll start being aggressive again, or they'll like neglect them again. To me, that's what this kind of feels like. Is it's the lyrics are describing this cycle. That's kind of my interpretation of it.
Interesting. Back into the cycle theme too.
Yeah, like this cycle of coelacanths going extinct and then being rediscovered, or mayflies dying in 1 or 2 days.
Those freaking coelacanths, man.
Yeah, man.
Less than 500 of them, maybe 200 left.
Yeah. Um, what did you think of the instrumental?
Honestly, like I don't have too much to say about this one instrumentally either. Like it's very hard for me to kind of discuss how I feel about it for some reason. I mean, it was nice. Do you have something interesting to say about the instrumental?
Um, I just kind of liked how it started off with this like cool like darker piano, and then it morphs into these very distorted guitars, and the piano chords just seem very uh ballad-esque, I guess.
Mm.
And they're kind of like going up and down, and
You gotta have a ballad towards the end.
yeah, well, I think sorry, my something in my throat. I think it's just cool how the piano does go up and down almost like a cycle, like
Mm.
a scale going up and then a scale going down.
The cycle of music.
The
The cycle of
cycle
art.
the cycle of art. At this point I'm giving up. I don't have a transition for comatose. Do
Yeah, well,
you?
no, I was this. First of all, that's not how you spell comatose. Um, I don't know why they added two M's there. I was actually like really just staring at that, trying to understand why there are
Mhm.
two M's in comatose instead of one. Maybe you have an answer for me. Do you?
Potentially. So I thought this song is about like communication breakdowns and like a
Okay.
relationship breakdown. And I specifically think because they are so terminally online, it seems, this band, I think that it's describing like long distance relationships.
Interesting.
And when else do you use so many commas if not trying to like get your point across in like in a long distance argument, I guess. And to me, it seems like the singer here, or the person who is um narrating this song, they're so sick and tired and fed up. There's comma after comma. They've gone comatose.
Wow.
That's my hunch. And I think the track's like 10-minute runtime
It
is,
is long.
I think it just kind of serves in favor to really highlight this like dulling down, or this very like beating you over the head of like, I'm like, I couldn't even hear you. I couldn't even hear you. I couldn't even hear you. These are the lyrics. Or I couldn't even hear you on the phone. We've been caught up in a one note monotone. I've been living with my head down, comatose. Your memory walks as roving ghost. I mean, that's just my interpretation.
Yeah, that's interesting. I definitely saw some aspect of love in this one. You've been
Hmm.
noticing that in a lot of these, but this one it's strung out to me, I guess. I could hear it a little better. But
Hmm.
like yeah, it felt like love or just like longing in general. And I really liked the just the lyricism here. I liked the lyricism on Killers, but this one's really artsy to me. I like the line "I love you better when you're plasticine." I also just like,
Oh,
yeah, that's good.
yeah.
Uh, I also like trepanation blood flow because it sounds like a Slipknot lyric. It's like
Yeah.
trepanation,
Blood
no
flow.
beating, blood
Yeah.
flow. Yeah. Anyway, that's not Slipknot, by the way, but yeah, this sounds like one of those kind of songs. Uh,
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, like lines like she was soaked into the carpet and her clothes monument to the fear that has taken host. Like that's just like a really cool imagery.
It's very
Um
poetic. Yeah.
I my favorite line is even in death just a cheap pastiche or belly laughing in the nosebleeds. I don't know why belly laughing in the nosebleeds just sounds really nice. I
It
don't know
is
what it
really
means,
nice.
but it's just like it's just a nice mouth feel, I guess. Maybe I'm being
So
too weird here, but
no, no, it does have a nice mouthfeel. Nosebleeds referring to like in a concert venue, the seats that are like way high up and way in the back.
oh, that's cool. I like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
So it's like a very like nostalgic memory almost.
Right, and I think it's, like, describing how things once were and how
Yeah.
significant or insignificant they can be in the grand scheme of things. Yeah, I just think lyrically it's one of the, like, stronger pieces as, like, an art project, and obviously the length, like, goes hand in hand with that, like, for being 10 minutes long, I think it doesn't overstay its welcome.
No, no.
There's, like, a really cool I wasn't really sure if it was, like, guitar, like, keytar or just distorted or whatever, but some sort of solo towards the end that was really cool, getting kinda, like, glitchy and there's this there's this really long note towards the end of the song,
Mhm.
and I put the timestamp down,
Yeah.
8:27. If the audience wants to go there and listen to it, I swear I hear, like, the Pokemon theme song note that kicks off the Pokemon theme, it's like, just, and it just, like like, rings out. I swear I hear it, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Listen to the Pokemon theme song, the first couple of seconds, and then go to 8:27 on this song. It's like the beginning of a Pokemon, but, whatever, that's part of my Pokemon cursed poison brain.
Yeah, it's no, I don't think it is Poison Brain. I think the long note is kind of like the flat line when this person has gone comatose, or
Mm,
it's to like signify how they have gone comatose.
interesting.
Did did you pick up on like potential disco influence? There were like these strings that would occasionally be in the background.
Yeah, I actually did hear
Um
the strings, that's right, it's interesting.
yeah, and then there was this weird, well, I shouldn't say weird. There was this like wild switch up into like electronic music. Um, and then it goes into this like guitar shredding. I think it is kind of to signify the communication breakdown that is going on. It's like sometimes like an argument can be like that, where it's like one person's talking about uh acoustic balladry, the other person's like talking about electronic disco, another person is like, you know what I mean?
Mm.
So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it's a long song. I feel like people might have a lot more to say about this one because there's so much to digest. I mean, we could probably fucking sit down and write an essay about this or something
Yeah, I
if we
mean,
really wanted
there's a lot of lyrics here that could
to.
be digested. So, do you want to talk about the last track here, Abyss Angel?
Yeah, we go into Abyss Angel, and I think kind of similar to the previous song, it's sort of this drawn out emotional ballad, but it doesn't quite go 10 minutes. I think more like a tighter 6. But I see a tighter theme here as well. I just sort of
Hmm.
imagine like a defeated figure, like all the blood in the trees, suffering, the quote burned meat, death, lost in the cold,
Yeah,
and I sort of
yeah.
see it. I sort of see it's like specifically a girl here. And maybe I'm
Hmm.
reading too much into this, but it says like little white pill. I don't know what that little white pill means to you or what that means. Do you have any idea?
I don't, but do you think it could be related to like being non-binary?
I was thinking to me, I saw this like the white pill as like, yeah, like a pill for like transitioning. Like for me, like my
Mm.
spironolactone is white, but I'm not sure what the white pill means exactly, but I'm kind of interested to know what that means. But yeah, there's like later lines about family nexus swallowed all exits, and you can sort of feel a pressure from a family, like scared, maybe scared of losing familial connections by transitioning. And then you have lines again about sort of like owning that autonomy and taking control of that autonomy. Like, let
Yeah,
me be as clay.
yeah,
Your plastic silhouette I will lay. I am a human body. I at least chose to take a positive away from this and say that it ends maybe optimistically because I think
mhm,
although it says like no matter what, we're all like plastic at the end of the day. We're all
yeah,
just another piece of plastic in the ocean, another piece of scrap, a bunch of human bodies deep in the ocean with dead whales.
yeah.
But we're a lot like whales, you know? We're a lot like whales.
We are well, we share a common ancestor like relatively recently, I guess, in the grand scheme of things,
Yeah.
but
You ever seen
yeah,
Avatar 2, The Way of the Water?
I have. Yeah, I have. I'm really glad you
Crazy.
it is crazy. Those whales,
Those
they
whales, man.
those they're smarter than us, I
They
swear.
are I wish I was a whale.
I wish I was a whale.
Dude,
Um,
sperm whales are the coolest whales.
I saw that sperm whales will defend other animals from orca attacks.
That's crazy. Do you know about how they when they go to record sperm whales? So sperm whales do this thing where they go
Mhm.
vertical in the ocean, right? Sort of towards the top, and they
Yeah,
sort of sit there and they rest. And
yeah,
people go out there because they want to measure the sound and analyze the sound and take recordings.
yeah.
So they go into the water right next to the whale to like get the burst from the
Mm,
whale. But
mhm.
apparently that it's so strong that it could like kill you.
Oh my god.
But the whales don't use all their energy around people, showing
What?
that they respect people a little bit. Yeah. Whales sound could literally crush a human structure. Like
That
it could
is
just like
wild.
I forget how it works, but it like melts you or it just destroys you. Like
That
their
is
sound is
wild.
that loud, but it can get that loud because they can actually send sound to other whales like really, really far distances in the
Oh,
ocean,
right,
you know?
right, like, yeah, I remember hearing about whales being able to communicate, like, halfway across the ocean or something.
Dude, whales are just so crazy. But the fact that they sit there and they don't use too high, they use low strength around the humans, like shows some sort of uh familial connection that the whales feel with
Yeah,
people.
I think they have compassion. Not to get too much of a tangent on whales, but
Yeah, no, I'm
I
100% going on a tangent on whales right now. It
no,
has
whale
almost nothing
tangent
to do.
whale tangent activated. I saw this thing. Apparently, these scientists pre-recorded a bunch of, like, whale calls, and they
Mm.
tried having a conversation with a whale, and it worked for a bit, but then the whale got bored because
He's like, I'm gonna go play whale Roblox.
no, yeah, because the scientists were just using the same whale sounds over and over again.
He's like, come on,
Uh,
dude, say something more intelligent.
yeah, it would be imagine aliens coming to Earth and just being like,
Goo goo
"Hello,
gaga, goo goo gaga.
hello, goo goo
Yeah.
gaga,
What's
hello."
up? What's up? What's up?
Just not saying anything else. We would get bored too, probably.
That's
Um,
so funny.
yeah, but I'm glad you, found a positive, an optimistic ending to this. I
because it is a
thought
sad song.
it is so sad, right? Like
Yeah,
verse
yeah,
2, all the burned meat, all the blood in the trees. I am burning with the blood in the trees. And I know
yeah.
it's not easy to me. Um, these lyrics are deeply dark.
Mm-hmm.
And or your house is a double blind, your love is a double bind.
Mm.
It almost feels like this paradox, and that's why I feel like the second leg of this album, it chronicles this relationship. But we're talking about plastic too, and I feel like this relationship is very much the consequence of a plastic death world, a world where relationships are commodified, your body is commodified, you're living in a panopticon, you're having these very transactional relationships. It feels like a very pessimistic take on modern society and like some of the warnings of modern society. At least that's what this album felt like to me.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, you want to do like sort of closing thoughts on the album in general?
Yeah, closing thoughts. What did you think?
Yeah, so I definitely agree. I think like the overall strongest theme to me was taking autonomy over your body, not letting it get stuck in like Alex said, panopticon, like getting stuck in a panopticon or a cul-de-sac, uh, or getting stuck defined by
Mhm.
society or whatever other, and breaking free of that and grabbing that bodily autonomy. And so I really liked those sort of themes, but also about how things kind of are a cycle, that sort of death and people die and plastic recycling,
Yeah.
Ouroboros. Just I
Yeah.
like those sort of
The
themes.
coelacanth. There's a lot of metaphors here for sure that I'm sure we have missed a lot just given the scope of this album and how
Yeah.
long it was. And I feel like there's a lot going on here, especially with the ARG. I found out that apparently, so the creature on the album cover, it's like this worm with a head and two antennae and wings
Mhm.
in the shape of like a cytoplasm or like a cell kind of.
Yeah.
So apparently that creature is the Abyss Angel, and
Oh.
apparently that creature's name is Alan.
What's up, Alan? Dude, there's so many layers to this. I feel like almost everything we said is true, and then there's more on top of it. Like, there's like 19 meanings to every song. This is
Yeah, well,
crazy.
Alan appears to be on the bottom of the ocean, and behind him is like the rib cage of a whale.
Oh my
Um,
god, it's the whale.
yeah, so I wonder there's probably so much we missed. If anyone happens to know more about us, we're just rambling and sharing our opinions. Um, if anyone happens to know more, we would love
Yeah,
to be
definitely let us
educated.
know. I
Yeah.
think in general I'm more interested in what this album did for me lyrically. I think
Mhm.
everyone could probably notice I was very into the lyrics here a little more than the instruments, which sometimes is the other way around. Sometimes like the instrumentation really grips me, and that's what I focus on. But there were also standout like musical moments for me too. I think like Motions, Whalefall, and The
Mhm.
Killer musically were really nice. And obviously, lyrically, I feel like I loved Cul-de-sac a lot. It just got me to think about America and its faults. And yeah, I think the album was pretty good overall. Oh, and Whalefall, best song.
Whalefall is great, yeah. I think this was a very strong album. I wouldn't be surprised to see it, uh, in many top 10 lists come year end.
Oh my
Um,
god, maybe next year this will be on there. There's so many albums.
there's
Cool.
gonna be a lot coming out this year. Um, yeah, overall, I enjoyed it. I thought it was good.
We win.
We win. Well, thank you everybody so much for listening to Music Posting. If you have any suggestions that you would want us to see, this was suggested on our Reddit, Music Posting. You can also follow us on Twitter at Music Posting Pod.
Our Reddit is r/music posting podcast, and our Twitter is at music posting pod.
Yeah, so follow us over there if you want to see what we're going to cover next. You're the best, you're the best. What should we
No,
review?
no, no, no.
Cut the
You're
show.
the worst. You're the worst. Bye. No, just kidding.
Later, skaters.
Bye.
Bye.